Choose your halves, boys.
I'll go for the shirtless bloke in the middle.
I had to slip that one in there, to be honest. I was like, how could I not? Yeah, the incumbents, we've got White at 9, and we've got a shirtless Quade Cooper at 10. All the other boys, I've got their Aussie jerseys, their clubs that they're playing in. Quade's not playing in Australia. I may as well, just show his rig while we're at it.
That's why.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, so up and comers, you've got Tate McDermott and Carter Gordon, and the Smokies, we've got Ryan Lonergan and Ben Donaldson.
You almost forgot who he was there. Like, 100%. I mean,
he slipped so far that he's gone from like the golden child of rugby in my eyes to I just forget who he is.
All right, Harry, if Ben Donaldson wasn't in the squad and wasn't the Smoky, who would be your Smoky for the 10 if it wasn't Benny D?
I wish it was Will Harrison, but he needs to stop getting injured. Noah Alessio has got to be the other one.
Yeah.
Else? If it's not Benny D?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, I exactly echo Harry's point. I wish it was Will Harrison, but he's been too injured. It'd have to be Lolesio. I think he's done well enough that he deserves to be around it. And I mean, he's been better at 10 than Ben Donaldson. He just doesn't have that versatility.
I love Noah. I just think that the thing that's going to bite him in the ass so much is that try that he scored and then pointed to the camera and said, Carter who?
No, mate, that's not going to bite him in the ass. Eddie would look at that and go, fuck yeah, that's what I want on my team, mate. Like, Eddie's not going to be upset that a guy's passionate and wants to get his name out there and prove that he's got what it takes. No way would Eddie think that was bad.
All right, boys.
Boys.
That's all
I'm saying.
Number 9s, let's tell pros and cons for your 3 9s. Cargie, run us through it. Who would you pick? What's his biggest strength? What's his weakness? And then else you can pick the next player.
Easy. Nick White. Experience. Control of the game. Box kicking. Job done.
Yeah, and look, Eddie has talked a lot about how much he wants a box kicking 9 as well. So writing's on the wall there. What's his negatives? Anything?
Talks too much, maybe, yeah. but Tate McDermott probably has the same problem. I mean,
I agree. I think it's just getting the ref offside.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to call him out for having a much better moustache than you, Craigs.
Definitely. They need to give him one of those collars with a little, shock collar or something, and then just Eddie has a control up in the booth. Just cut it out, Nick.
I really wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Or just build it into the GPS tracker. You know what I mean? Build it into the GPS tracker in the back of your shirt. That's how you get it done.
Who's your first choice? If it's Nick White, who's your second choice and why?
It's Nick White. It's my next choice, first choice starter, so also known as a second choice, would be Tate. We know what Tate can do from the start of the match. Lonergan, I think, has earned his ability to potentially be, coming off the bench for the Wallabies, but Tate is unique in terms of Aussie rugby with his ability to snipe and pick and choose those moments. I think he has improved the speed of his ball. He's slowly improving his kicking game. I don't think his kicking game is up to scratch, his box kicking game, and I think that's the thing that's holding him back. He has apparently usurped Carter Gordon from the Tars. Jake Gordon. So, they're the two that were really battling out for this role. So for me, I think Eddie thinks that, he's obviously fixing up those issues and he's got that ability to snipe and set a game open. I was a little disappointed in their quarterfinal. I think he took a backward step and didn't really try to take the game by the horns. I thought he looked like he tried to just play a simple and simplified game, and that's not why you're picking the bloke. If you want a simplified game, he's not the guy you're ever picking. So when he gets his chances, I think he needs to take those moments and threaten with ball in hand.
Yeah.
And Harry,
look, I would just say before I get on to Ryan Lonergan that this clearly is not the Wallabies Rugby World Cup squad. So I actually don't necessarily think Jake Gordon's out of the picture by any means. He's the most experienced by a long way of these 3 candidates at test level. I'm not talking about Nick White, of course, the other 3. So I think it makes sense that you spend a bit more time with Tate and Ryan Lonergan, and then if they're not giving you what you need, then you've got Jake Gordon who will slot back in pretty quickly as a mature head. Ryan Lonergan, I think his strength is obviously leadership and goal kicking. He's an excellent goal kicker, and he's obviously captained the Brumbies when he's had opportunities at times as well. So obviously a very cool, calm, collected head. I think his service is very good off the base. It's probably not quite as good as Nick White's, but I think he gets there quick, he's fit, and he gets the ball out a lot quicker than Tate McDermott does, and I think probably Jake Gordon as well. I'm still not completely convinced by his kicking game in play. I know he's got a good kick for goal, and he has a long boot when he sees space, but I just think off the base of the scrum, I don't think he's quite accurate enough yet. And I also think he's probably got the weakest running game of the four halves as well. So I don't think he offers quite as much as well.
Yeah, I think that would be my point. Is that I think we've discussed this before. It's that White's your test half, your test halfback. Tate's the best out and out Super Rugby running halfback, no questions asked. Jake Gordon kind of splits the difference. He's in between the two roles, and can offer kind of a little bit of both. For mine, other than being an excellent goal kicker, and maybe I underrate his leadership abilities and things like that, I don't really see, and it's because maybe we haven't seen enough of him, but I don't see anything that really excites me or anything extra that Ryan Lonergan brings to the table.
Look, his pass is, in my opinion, miles above Tate's, and it's far better than Gordon's. Okay. His pass and his speed, his ability to do it and not fight us around the breakdown. I think his ability to get good, clean ball out quick is far above those two. But as you said, he doesn't offer the running game. He doesn't offer certain other things. So, I mean, if you're up and you need a mature, stable 9 to come on, close out a game, and maybe kick a penalty from long range, he's the bloke. But how do you know that that's what you need in some of these big games? You might need the spark, and that spark's Tate. That spark isn't Lonergan.
I think it all comes back to balance. Like if you don't have someone that has an excellent quick long passing game and a running game, then you have to pick one or the other. So then I think you have to say, well, how much strike power do we have outside of him? We have Quade Cooper who can light it up, or Maverick. We have Samu Karevi who can set up tries and score things himself. We've got Corin Betty. We've got, you know, you know what I mean? Like we do actually have a lot of strike power through the team. So if you think about it that way, maybe the best avenue is, if you haven't got both, just to get someone that can give the ball out to your strike power, your experienced players outside.
Yeah.
I think that's a good shout, because I think, apart from being biased Waratahs fans, I think, going before the squad was announced and whatnot, I think you boys would agree with me saying that when it comes down to it, World Cup, I'd be starting Nick White and I'd like Jake Gordon on my bench.
Yeah.
Predominantly because when you bring Jake Gordon on, he can give you a little bit of either a cooler head and some experience a la Nick White, or depending on how the game's going, he can offer some of the Tate McDermott running game, right? Whereas Tate, if you're bringing him off the bench, you're going all out. It's on a very few specific teams you'd run that out. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how it plays out. And I think that's a really good way of looking at Harry, that Jake Gordon's not out of the picture, that perhaps this is the opportunity to give Tate and Ryan a really good go.
And guys, let's push on to the 10s as well. We've obviously mentioned at the top who they were. Mm-hmm. Kagi, who's your least likely to start, and what's his strengths and weaknesses?
Well, Benny D is my least likely to start, which I think will be the same answer for you two. Strengths and weaknesses. I mean, look, he's got... I don't really know what Ben Donaldson's strengths are over Quade Cooper or Carter Gordon. I mean, I guess that he's the best fullback out of the three of them, if you want some versatility.
Versatility, mate. Versatility.
I don't know if I'd pick him above them. To be honest, I'd probably take Carter Gordon at fullback. I'd
probably give him a go as well. Absolutely. But yeah, so look, he's got some really good tactical kicking. You could argue that perhaps his tactical kicking could be not better than Quade's now, but could be better than Carter Gordon's. I'm not sure. Doesn't have a bigger boot than probably Quade or Carter Gordon. Yeah, it's hard to... I don't know. There's nowhere really that I see other than versatility that I would be picking Benny D.
Nels, do you have an answer to this?
Not really. Look, I think at times...
You've stumped us both, Harry.
Yeah, no, I think at times... He's shown he's got a very good ability to take the ball to the line and threaten with ball in hand. But, I mean, when you're comparing him to, two of the best Aussie 10s, I think in a long time to do that. I don't think he's necessarily on the same level as them, but he does have an ability to find himself in space and make a good long pass and find blokes around him when he's in those gaps.
I think... Guys, if you're looking for a positive here, you need to look back to 2022. I think you guys are letting your recency bias of his struggles in 2023 cloud your judgment a little bit here. Last year, he was the Iceman. Like, he just didn't look put off by anything. No challenge was too great. He was very much like the 23 Carter Gordon, where he just seemed to want to have a go in the way that he seemed to want to have a go and never seemed too overawed by the challenge. He kicked a lot of big late penalties. He seemed to control the game very well, and he seemed to back himself all the way. Whereas this year, his confidence has been rocked, and I think that's been taken away from him.
I think if you're listening to the pod or watching on YouTube, get after Harry on Twitter. You can feel it from Nelson and I as well, just saying, I don't think you can call Ben Donaldson's 2022 anything like Carter Gordon's 23.
For the record, I'm not saying he was the 2022.
No, that's exactly what Harry was saying. Get after
I'm talking about him being so confident and backing himself, and the confidence to play to the best of his ability despite the moment and the pressure, which I think Carter Gordon's done well. I'm not saying they're playing the same way. I'm talking about how unflappable they've been under pressure.
Don't feel like you have to defend yourself. Just because we don't agree that you think Ben Donaldson's 2022 season was better than Carter Gordon's 23. I mean, that's fine. We don't agree with it. That's fine.
I think it was better. I think it was better than Quade Cooper's 2011.
Oh, all right, man. Now that we've got that soundbite to replay over.
Yeah, that's right.
No, look, the problem for me is very simple. Definitely recency bias for me, for sure. But the other one is that Ben Donaldson just doesn't excite me. He's a 10 that does the basics does the basics really well. You know what I mean? Delivers great service, makes some good decisions, but he just doesn't offer anything like any particular thing exceptionally for mine. Whereas
I think you're right. I think he could be your Bernard Foley. He could do his job. He could be serviceable, and he could be good. He could actually be a good player. But I think Carter Gordon offers things where you look at this guy and go, he could be the best in the world at 10 in a number of different measures. And I think he has the ability to do that moving forward. Yeah. I don't think Carter Gordon, I don't think Ben Donaldson, you would say the same, but he has an ability to be a very good Wallabies 10.
Tell us then. Let's get on to it. Carter Gordon, tell us why he has the ability to be the world's best 10.
I've got it. I was going to say, very simply for me, Carter Gordon, I'm looking forward to watching him run over Richie Mo'unga in this, or Beauden Barrett, whoever the All Blacks throw out of 10. I want to. He's can be incredibly physical. He's a big man and he has some pace. He's not afraid for contact, both in D and in offense. So that's the thing that he brings to the table. Whereas Quade, no one. I've said it for years. I don't think anyone in the world has as good a pass as Quade Cooper. And can put the ball in. I don't think there's passes he can put the ball in places that other people simply can't do. Out in front of people for them to run onto. There's no 10 in the world you would rather have as an inside centre than Quade Cooper.
Yeah, if you were the inside centre. Yeah, look, Carter Gordon at 189 centimetres and 93 kilos at 22. This bloke makes a tackle every 8.5 minutes, and some of them are super physical. This is a guy. For a while, we have had, 10s that have shied away from contact. He's looking for contact, ball in hand, and on the defensive side of the game as well. And players will be aware of where he is. Players were aware when they had ball in hand where Paisami was, and no, he's not in and about the Wallabies squad at the moment, but they knew he was going to come in and put a shot on them. This is a bloody 10 that people are going to have to be aware of. And then ball in hand, if you're not switched on, ready to put a shot on him, he's going to run over you. He can throw a beautiful pass, but he can run directly over you and make you look like a goose. So he's going to make players, doubt themselves, have to pay more attention to him. He's not just going to be someone who's going to distribute that you can give 50% of your attention to and 50% to someone else. You have to put your attention on this guy to stop him in his tracks, because if not, he's running over you, he's stepping you, or he's looking for someone that's going to run a gap around you.
And I love hearing the Rebels coaches all say that he's an absolute student of the game. He trains so hard. He does his extra learning. He is trying to pick up absolutely every bit of info he can off every single coach. So his ego is not too big for him to continue to learn. So I think the world's at his feet as such a young 10 at the moment. What is he now? He's 22.
And look, and my last point on that would just be this: was one of the things that really appealed to Eddie that stood out for him was effort. It was effort getting back in D. It was effort chasing through kicks. It was effort getting up and moving back in the D line. Hitting ruck, exactly. Like I'm trying to try and think of when you've seen an Australian 10 give that much effort in recent years, because I don't know if I can remember one, honestly. Like,
in all honesty, I cannot think of a 10 who I think has had that effort in, and some of it's misguided, and I think needs to be pulled in. But I've spent a lot of my time playing rugby as a forward saying to backs, once you make the pass, you have to then go and clear that ball out if there's no forwards out there at that time. Carter Gordon is making the pass, and it can be a cutout, and then he's making sure we secure that ball. The Rebels would have lost a lot of ball, even with their good back row. They would have lost a lot of ball if he wasn't the man blowing over and helping to secure that ball. So if he can, hone that in, make his right choices, he doesn't shy away from anything on the field that needs to be done, and his work rate is immense.
Harry, any final thoughts on this Carter Gordon love fest?
No, we've talked a lot. Quade, Cargie, you've already given your thoughts. My big thing for him is always going to be the balance of his decision making. I want him to have a bit of that excitement and X factor still in his game. The little flick pass where you don't believe how he can get the ball out there, or the little step down the sideline where he dummies to nobody and then fools three players. So that's what I hope we still see a little bit from him. But obviously he just seems to steer and organise the team so well that we play a lot better under him. And I think that's got to be his biggest strength that the other guys have got to learn from him.
That's it. I think he's now the general that the Wallabies need. You were touching on there's so much talent outside him. He's mature. He won't get overawed by any moment in any game, no matter what has happened. Just the last play or throughout the rest of the match. He will not get overawed. He's a very mature player. But yes, we all want to see him then still see those moments and take those moments because he knows he can. If he's the fastest he's been in years, he needs to be able to back himself. And I have no doubt in my mind that if he thinks something's on, he'll take it.
Yeah, and if he can pass on half of his spiritual enlightenment to the rest of the squad, then we're in a good place, I think.